Joining me tonight is my guest, Meg McQuarrie. And Megan is executive director of something called the Elixir Fund. And that's Elixir, Elixir Fund, which is an interesting name, and I hope we get to discuss that tonight, how you came up with that name. Megan and I have worked together. We both have similar missions in our foundations fighting cancer. And Megan's more overwhelming. Her fund deals with all cancer types, whereas the Teal Foundation deals specifically with ovarian cancer. So Megan, let's go back and talk about the Elixir Fund and how you started it and what the fund does.
Okay. Well, just as an introduction, the focus of the Elixir Fund is comfort care for cancer patients and caregivers. So we try and provide those little extras. Our goal is to help make the cancer journey easier. We work with individuals, we work with hospitals, we have created mini makeover days in hospitals. We've donated portable DVD players and created DVD libraries for patients to access while they're going through treatment. With individuals, we've created a program called Bridge to Wellness, where we introduce complementary therapies to patients and caregivers, sort of a next step in a support group, where you can actually experience what yoga is like, massage, Tai Chi, meditation, all the things you hear about but maybe a little hesitant to try. We've put it in one location. We can also help individuals identify those resources in their community. So while we're based here in Mercer County, we actually have a national focus and can help people do the legwork. When you're going through treatment, it's exhausting to get on the internet and search out even where to find a wig or meals or transportation. We can help do that and take care of that for individuals. And we began in 2003. And the Elixir Fund is inspired by my brother's experience with cancer treatment. My brother Kevin, at 36, was diagnosed with advanced testicular cancer. And by that point, it had already spread to the bone and eventually spread to his brain. He was initially resistant to try treatment. His idea was that it would make him very sick. It was very toxic. It would be debilitating. And initially, he thought, I'd rather just die than go through treatment. It was not something that he wanted to try. When friends and family rallied around him, he decided he wanted to stick around a little bit longer. So he decided to give it a try, and it was completely contrary to what he had expected. He thought that all his treatment was done in the hospital. So he felt that if he had to be in the hospital, it was going to be a place he wanted to be. He wore his own clothes. We decorated the walls. He brought a chair that was comfortable for him to actually sit and sleep in. We brought food in. Friends did hours of massage. And as a result, my brother did not get sick from treatment. He went through almost 2 years of continual, multiple rounds of chemotherapy, radiation on his brain, on his spine, on his pelvis, stem cell treatment. He never took morphine for stem cell treatment, which is unheard of. He also had a high pain threshold, but by maintaining his comfort, he maintained his positive attitude, and he lived fully during his 2 years of treatment. And while going through treatment, he recognized that he had so much support from friends and family, and not everybody did. And he wanted to find a way to do that for other people, to give back what he had received. And that's where the idea of the Elixir Fund was born. And it's called the Elixir Fund because even though he chose to go through treatment, initially chemotherapy still had a real toxic connotation in his mind. So he decided to turn it into something positive and called it his elixir. And made all of his doctors and nurses and friends and family, they would come in and say, we're ready to hang your chemo. And he's, your elixir. And his friend made up T-shirts, which was our initial logo, and we all wore them. She sent 20 of them. His doctor wore it at the beginning of treatment. The nurses, friends, family wore them. And that was the beginning of this philosophy about maintaining comfort during treatment.
And what the Elixir is and why you came to that name, Elixir Fund.
Yes,
that's a very different name. It's a very strange name.
It is, and not everyone understands what we're about, but yeah.
I went on your website, and there are pictures all over your website. I assume those are pictures of Kevin?
There are some of Kevin and friends and family.
Who's dancing in the field? There's a big field.
Our image is Kevin standing in a daffodil field.
So I assumed that Kevin beat it, but Kevin did not beat it.
He did not. He passed away in 2003 after 2 years of treatment.
And so you carried on in his name and started this wonderful organization that addresses all kinds of cancers and addresses giving care and support to people in need.
To patients and caregivers. We recognize that caregivers are a big part of this whole process and this journey and are key to a patient's outlook.
You said it has a national flavor, so you not only serve people in the Mercer County area, people reach out to you, I guess, from your website?
Word of mouth, internet, from the website, word of mouth, from our contacts in California. But we've helped people Louisiana, Atlanta. We've helped people in California, here in New Jersey.
And people just pick up the phone and call you?
Pick up the phone or send an email and say, I'm looking for... I had somebody contact me from Syracuse, New York, and say, I'm looking for a support group. And I thought, are you kidding? Just go on the internet, can't you? But no, it's very difficult. And as we've talked about, you could find a breast cancer support group, but anything else was difficult to find. And that's one of those things. It took me a few phone calls, half an hour on hold somewhere to find a support group for this woman. But it could be done. It just took a little bit of work. So it really varies. I've had people call for, they want to know where they can get a wig. They want to know where they can get transportation. And then we do a little additional search for them and say, here are some resources. I have found, I believe it was in Georgia, there was a great program that had oncology massage and art therapy and yoga, and all of this was just in a community resource center. So we try to identify free or low cost, but we let people know all the things that are available to them.
Are you keeping a directory of all these things?
We are. I'm keeping track of them, and we hope to a national directory. We also, there are some on our website, but we also like to, not all of them are up there because we are looking nationally. We can direct you to that point, but we make no claim as to what the services are. We will provide you with the information that's available, but before they go on our website, we like to have some idea of who they are, how it works, and a little bit more background information.
And what's your website?
elixirfund.org, and that's elixirfund.org.
Now, how do you keep, I know we've both talked about this many times, how do you keep the organization growing? Because that's the hardest part in being a nonprofit foundation, that you're totally dependent on donations, and you have no clue what it costs to operate. I thought, what's to operate? But you have all kinds of operating expenses. Even just keeping your website up is an operating expense. So how do you keep it going?
Wing and a prayer. No, it's donations. I mean, we have wonderful, wonderful supporters, and that's a constant. You know that. That's a constant, trying to find different ways to raise money. Friends and family, supporters. We have a dear friend, Dr. Deborah Pear in L.A., who's a chiropractor, who also now has opened an office in New York, believe it or not. She comes every few months to New York. Each year, she opens her doors to us and turns over her patients' fees to us for the day.
So we're going to take a little break, but when we come back, I want to go talk again about the Elixir Fund, and then we'll talk a little bit about the group that you and I are in together called One Force to Make a Difference. So thank you. We're listening to Meg McQuarrie from the Elixir Fund, and we'll be back in just a minute.